Brock Thornberry was having a spectacularly mundane Tuesday. The kind of Tuesday where the highlight was successfully peeling an orange in one continuous strip. He sat at his kitchen table, admiring his citrusy achievement, when a thunderous boom shook his entire house. "What the hell?" Brock shouted, stumbling to his feet. He rushed to the window, expecting to see a car crash or maybe an impromptu demolition. Instead, his jaw dropped at the sight of a sleek, metallic object roughly the size of a bus embedded in his front lawn. As Brock gaped at the scene, a hatch on the object hissed open. Steam billowed out, and a figure emerged. It was tall, at least 7 feet, with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. Its head was oddly conical, with 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. Brock's mind raced. Alien? Hallucination? Elaborate prank? He pinched himself. Hard. Ow. Okay, not dreaming. The creature spotted Brock and raised 2 of its arms in what seemed like a greeting. Then, to Brock's utter astonishment, it spoke in perfectly clear English. "Greetings, Earth Dweller. I am Ambassador ZYX Norp of the Galactic Confederation. I come seeking the legendary human weapon known as the Dad Joke." Brock blinked rapidly, his brain struggling to process the situation. "I'm sorry, what did you say? Dad joke?" ZYX Norp's 3 eyes blinked in unison. "Indeed. Our intelligence suggests that humans possess a secret weapon of unimaginable power. A verbal construct so potent it can incapacitate entire populations with a phenomenon you call cringe. We seek this weapon to defend against the approaching Kronar Armada." A laugh bubbled up from deep in Brock's chest. It started as a chuckle, grew into a guffaw, and soon he was doubled over, tears streaming down his face. "Oh man," he gasped between fits of laughter. "If you only knew." ZYX Norp tilted its conical head. "Have I said something amusing? Or is this the effect of the dreaded dad joke?" Wiping his eyes, Brock straightened up. No, that wasn't a dad joke. But buddy, you've come to the right place. I'm what you might call a master of the craft." The alien's eyes widened. "Then you will assist us? You will share this weapon to save countless civilizations." Brock grinned, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Oh, I'll do you one better. I'll demonstrate its power. But first, we need to gather the troops. Every dad, uncle, and groan-inducing jokester in a 50-mile radius." As Brock pulled out his phone to start making calls, ZYX Norp watched in fascination. Little did either of them know that they were about to embark on the most ridiculous intergalactic adventure in the history of the universe. And it all started with a perfectly peeled orange and an alien crash landing on a random Tuesday afternoon. As news of the alien visitor spread, Brock's suburban neighborhood transformed into a hive of activity. Dads from all walks of life converged on his lawn, drawn by the promise of an audience for their finest material. The air buzzed with anticipation and the groans of long-suffering family members. ZYX Norp observed the gathering with a mixture of confusion and awe. "Brock Thornberry, are these your fellow warriors? They seem ordinary." Brock chuckled, slapping the alien on one of its 4 shoulders. "That's the beauty of it, my blue buddy. The most powerful weapons often come in unassuming packages." Among the assembled crowd, a stocky man with a horseshoe mustache stepped forward. "Name's Gus Chuckleworth," he announced, puffing out his chest. "I hear we've got some extraterrestrial ears to assault with our prime puns." ZYX Norp's eyes swiveled in fascination. "Assault? With puns? Is this not a violation of intergalactic law?" Before Brock could explain, another voice piped up. "Don't worry, it's all in good PUN," cackled Mildred Gigglesmith Johnson, a silver-haired grandmother who'd elbowed her way to the front. "I may be old, but my jokes are timeless." The alien ambassador's confusion deepened. "I do not understand. How can verbal constructs be used as weapons?" "Our intelligence suggested." Brock interrupted, sensing the misunderstanding. "Whoa, hold up. ZYX Norp, buddy, I think we need to clear something up. These dad jokes aren't actual weapons. They're just really bad puns that make people groan." ZYX Norp's conical head drooped. "Then we are doomed. The Kronar Armada approaches, and we have no defense." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Gus Chuckleworth's mustache twitched indignantly. Now wait just a cotton-picking minute. Are you saying our jokes can't save the galaxy? Mildred cackled again. Honey, my puns once made my grandson roll his eyes so hard he got dizzy. If that ain't a superpower, I don't know what is. As the crowd of jokesters began to argue, Brock noticed something strange. ZYX-Norp was vibrating. A high-pitched whine emanated from the alien's body, growing louder by the second. Everyone quiet, Brock shouted. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to the shaking alien. Suddenly, ZYX-Norp burst out in a sound that could only be described as laughter. If laughter sounded like a cross between a dolphin's squeak and a car alarm. Oh, Glorb! The alien gasped between fits of alien giggles. I see now. The puns. The wordplay. It's beautiful. The assembled humans exchanged bewildered glances. Brock cautiously approached the hysterical alien. ZYX-Norp? You okay there, buddy? The alien's three eyes focused on Brock, tears of mirth streaming down its blue face. Okay, I'm spectacular. Don't you see? This absurdity. It's the perfect weapon against the Kronar. Gus scratched his head. Come again. ZYX-Norp composed itself, still chuckling. The Kronar are a humorless species. They value logic and efficiency above all else. But this, it gestured wildly at the crowd. This delightful nonsense would shatter their worldview. A spark of understanding lit up Brock's face. So you're saying, yes, ZYX-Norp exclaimed. We can save the galaxy with dad jokes, but we must act quickly. The Armada will reach Earth's solar system within 24 hours. We need your finest material, your most groan-inducing puns. The crowd of dads, moms, uncles, aunts, and grandparents erupted in cheers. Mildred Gigglesmith Johnson cackled with glee. Well, butter my biscuit and call me a cornball. We're gonna punish some aliens. As the group began excitedly sharing their best, worst jokes, Brock couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of it all. Here they were, Earth's first line of defense against an alien invasion, armed with nothing but an arsenal of terrible wordplay. And somehow, improbably, it just might work. Little did they know, the true test of their punnet powers was yet to come. The fate of the galaxy would hinge on their ability to make the ultimate dad joke. One so monumentally groan-worthy, it could stop an armada in its tracks. As Earth's orbit buzzed with anticipation, Brock Thornberry found himself in the most unlikely of war rooms. The local community center, usually host to bingo nights and pottery classes, now served as the headquarters for humanity's pun-based defense force. ZYX-Norp had rigged up a holographic display, showing the Kronar Armada's approach. Hundreds of ships, each shaped like a perfectly logical geometric shape, inched closer to Earth's solar system. All right, people, Brock called out, pacing in front of a whiteboard covered in scribbled wordplay. We've got less than 2 hours before those humorless Hufflepuffs hit our orbit. We need the mother of all dad jokes, and we need it now. Gus Chuckleworth raised his hand, his mustache quivering with excitement. How about this? Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. A collective groan rippled through the room. ZYX-Norp's eyes swirled in delight. Marvelous! The illogical nature of personifying subatomic particles is exquisite. Mildred Gigglesmith Johnson cackled from her corner. That's nothing, dearie. Listen to this. I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now. More groans, accompanied by a few reluctant chuckles. ZYX-Norp vibrated with glee. The wordplay. Yes. For hours, they worked tirelessly, refining their jokes, honing their delivery, and occasionally stopping to explain Earth concepts to an increasingly giddy ZYX-Norp. But as the deadline loomed, they still hadn't found that one perfect joke. Brock slumped in a chair, running his hands through his hair. It's not enough. We need something bigger, something so groan-worthy it'll make the entire Armada facepalm, or whatever they have instead of palms. Suddenly, the doors burst open. In walked Brock's 13-year-old daughter, Zoe, her eyes rolling so hard they threatened to fall out of her head. Dad, Mom said you're trying to save the world with dad jokes? That is so lame. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Zoe, who fidgeted uncomfortably under the attention. What? Why is everyone staring at me? And why is there a blue traffic cone with eyes? ZYX approached Zoe, its eyes wide with wonder. Young human, you possess the power we seek, the ability to generate the cringe response merely by existing. Fascinating. Zoe backed away slowly. A dad? Your alien friend is being weird. Brock's face lit up with sudden inspiration. That's IT. Zoe, you beautiful, embarrassed genius. He turned to the room. Folks, I think I've got our golden ticket, but I'm going to need everyone's help to pull this off. As Brock outlined his plan, a mix of anticipation and disbelief swept through the room. It was audacious. It was ridiculous. It was quite possibly the dumbest idea in the history of intergalactic warfare. In other words, it was perfect. With less than an hour to spare, they set their plan in motion. ZYX ship, hastily repaired, took off from Brock's lawn, carrying Earth's strangest delegation into orbit. As they approached the massive Kronar fleet, Brock took a deep breath. He looked around at the faces of his fellow humans, and one very excited alien, all crammed into the small spacecraft. Ready, he asked. Gus adjusted his mustache. Mildred cracked her knuckles. Zoe, who'd been roped into this insanity, let out a long-suffering sigh that only a teenager could produce. ZYX opened a communication channel to the Kronar flagship. On the view screen, a stern-faced alien appeared, its features sharp and angular, devoid of any hint of humor. Kronar vessel, ZYX announced, barely containing its excitement. We come bearing a message from Earth. They wish to. How did you put it, Brock? Brock stepped forward, a mischievous glint in his eye. We're here to show you something cool. The Kronar commander's expression didn't change. Proceed, it said flatly. Brock cleared his throat. This was it, the moment of truth. The fate of the galaxy resting on the delivery of the ultimate dad joke. Why, he began, fighting to keep a straight face. Did the Scarecrow win an award? The Kronar commander blinked, confusion evident even on its stoic features. I did not understand. Scarecrows are inanimate objects incapable of. Brock interrupted, barely containing his grin. Because he was outstanding in his field. For a moment, there was silence. Then, as if on cue, every human in the ship let out the loudest, most exaggerated groan they could muster. Gus slapped his forehead. Mildred pretended to faint. Zoe's eye roll was so dramatic, it could have registered on the Richter scale. The Kronar commander's face twitched. What? This makes no logical sense. A scarecrow cannot. But Brock wasn't done. Wait. Why don't eggs tell jokes? The commander's eye twitched harder. Eggs are not sentient. They cannot. Because they crack each other up. Another round of groans, even louder than before. ZYX was practically vibrating with delight. The Kronar commander's face contorted in confusion. This is nonsense. It defies all logic. How can you? Brock went for the kill. Okay, last one. Why did the math book look so sad? The commander's composure was crumbling. Books do not have emotions. This is preposterous. I demand that you. Because it had too many problems. The groan that followed was so loud, so exaggerated. It seemed to shake the very fabric of space-time. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. The Kronar commander's face cracked. A small twitch at first, then a larger one. And then, against all odds, against the very nature of its species, it laughed. The sound was like grinding gears mixed with a dolphin's cry, but it was unmistakably laughter. And it was spreading. Across the view screen, they could see other Kronar doubling over, overcome by the sheer, nonsensical absurdity of it all. As the laughter echoed across the stars, Brock turned to his companions, a triumphant grin on his face. Ladies, gentlemen, and interdimensional beings, he announced, I think we just won. And in that moment, as an alien armada dissolved into helpless giggles, the power of the dad joke proved itself the most formidable force in the universe. The aftermath of the great dad joke offensive was nothing short of cosmic chaos. As the Kronar fleet hung motionless in Earth's orbit, Overcome by fits of bewildered laughter, Brock and his team found themselves at the center of an intergalactic incident. I don't understand. The Kronar commander wheezed, its angular features contorted in a mix of amusement and existential crisis. How can simple wordplay provoke such an illogical response? It defies all rational thought. HFY, practically vibrating with excitement, attempted to explain. That's the beauty of it, you see. The human brain's ability to find humor in the absurd, to laugh at the illogical. It's a superpower. Gus Chuckleworth stroked his mustache thoughtfully. Reckon it's like tickling the brain with words, if you catch my drift. The Kronar commander's eye twitched. Tickling the brain? But that's not. Oh, Mildred interrupted with a cackle. Speaking of brains, did you hear about the Italian chef who died? He passed away. Another wave of groans rippled through the human contingent, while the Kronar on screen struggled to maintain composure. One alien in the background actually snorted, a sound so unexpected it sent its colleagues into fresh peals of laughter. As the situation unfolded, Earth's government scrambled to make sense of the events. News channels broadcasted conflicting reports. Breaking: alien invasion thwarted by stand-up comedy. Dad jokes. Earth's secret weapon against extraterrestrial threats. Local man saves planet with bad puns. More at 11. In the midst of the chaos, Brock realized they had stumbled upon something far more powerful than anyone could have imagined. It wasn't just about stopping an invasion. They had inadvertently created a bridge between two wildly different species. Listen up, folks, Brock announced, addressing both his team and the still giggling Kronar. I think we got an opportunity here. A chance to turn this whole mess into something beautiful. Zoe, who had been sulking in the corner, perked up. Wait, you're not seriously considering? Oh, I am, Brock grinned. We're going to teach the Kronar how to laugh. What followed was perhaps the strangest cultural exchange program in the history of the universe. As Earth's diplomats worked out the official details, Brock and his team of reluctant comedians set about the task of introducing humor to a species that had evolved without it. They started small. Knock-knock jokes proved too conceptually complex. But why would one announce their presence and then state their name? Is this not inefficient? So they began with simple wordplay. Why can a nose be 12 inches long? Gus asked a group of bewildered Kronar scientists. After a pause, one brave alien ventured. Because the average humanoid nasal structure is not capable of such growth. No, Gus chuckled. Because then it'd be a foot. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, one Kronar began to chuckle. It spread like wildfire, the aliens marveling at the simple joy of an unexpected punchline. Mildred took a different approach, introducing the aliens to the art of the pun. I used to be a banker, she told them, but I lost interest. This one took some explaining. The concepts of banking, interest rates, and the double meaning of interest were all new to the Kronar. But once they grasped it, their appreciation for the layered wordplay was almost reverent. Even Zoe, despite her initial reluctance, found herself drawn into the bizarre language lessons. She introduced the Kronar to memes, a concept so far removed from their logical mindset that it nearly caused a collective short circuit. The sight of a grumpy cat declaring, "I had fun once. It was awful," sent one Kronar into a philosophical tailspin about the nature of enjoyment and suffering. As days turned into weeks, something remarkable happened. The Kronar, once rigid and humorless, began to change. They started experimenting with their own jokes, clumsy at first, but improving with each attempt. A Kronar scientist proudly presented its first original joke. Why did the photon refuse to check its luggage? Because it was traveling light. The groans from the humans were matched only by the beaming pride on the alien's face. But it wasn't just the Kronar who were changing. As they opened themselves up to the joy of laughter, they began sharing their own culture, their scientific advancements, their unique perspective on the universe. Humanity found itself on the brink of a new age of discovery, all thanks to a few bad puns. Brock watched it all unfold with a mixture of pride and disbelief. He turned to HFY, who hadn't stopped vibrating with excitement since this all began. You know, he mused, when I woke up that Tuesday morning, I never thought I'd end up brokering intergalactic peace with dad jokes. HFY's eyes swirled in what Brock had come to recognize as its version of a smile. Brock Thornberry, you have unlocked a power greater than any weapon. You have taught the universe to laugh. As they stood there, watching humans and Kronar exchange increasingly terrible jokes, Brock couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. In the face of potential annihilation, humanity had reached for its most groan-worthy weapon, and in doing so, had forged an unlikely alliance. The universe, it seemed, would never be the same. And that was no laughing matter, or maybe, just maybe, it was the biggest laugh of all. 6 months after the Great Dad Joke Offensive, Earth had become the unlikely comedy capital of the galaxy. The planet buzzed with an eclectic mix of humans and aliens, all drawn by the promise of laughter and terrible puns. Brock Thornberry, now hailed as the intergalactic jester, found himself at the center of it all. He stood on stage at the newly christened Cosmic Chuckle Arena, a vast amphitheater built specifically for interspecies comedy nights. So, folks, Brock addressed the diverse crowd, his voice echoing through the stadium. An Earthling, a Kronar, and a Xnorpian walk into a bar. The anticipation was palpable. Humans leaned forward in their seats. Kronar vibrated with excitement. Xnorpian's eyes swirled in delight. The bartender looks up and says, "What is this, some kind of universal joke?" The groan that followed was so massive it registered on seismographs across the planet. Aliens rolled in the aisles, their laughter a cacophony of clicks, whoops, and sounds beyond human comprehension. In the VIP box, Gus Chuckleworth wiped a tear from his eye. That boy's come a long way from peeling oranges in his kitchen. Beside him, Mildred Giggle Smith Johnson cackled. He sure has. Who'd have thought our little pandemic would save the world? As the show continued, the effects of Earth's comedic revolution were evident everywhere. The Kronar, once feared as humorless conquerors, had become the galaxy's most enthusiastic comedy students. They'd even started their own stand-up circuit, though their jokes tended to be heavy on quantum mechanics punchlines. HFY, now Earth's official laughter liaison, had written a best-selling book, LOL, The Logic of Levity. It was required reading in schools across 17 star systems. But perhaps the most surprising transformation was Zoe Thornberry. The teenager who had once rolled her eyes at her father's jokes was now running a galactic meme exchange program. Her latest creation, featuring a disgruntled Kronar captioned, "When the universal translator doesn't get the punchline," had gone viral on over 200 planets. As Brock wrapped up his set, he couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of it all. He stepped off stage to thunderous applause, only to be immediately accosted by a group of eager Kronar comedians. "Brock Thornberry," their leader exclaimed, its angular features contorted into what passed for a grin. "We have devised a new joke. Would you validate its humor quotient?" Brock chuckled. "Hit me with it, buddy." The Kronar cleared its throat. "Why did the neutrino cross the galaxy?" "I don't know," Brock replied, fighting back a grin. "Why?" "To get to the other side." The Kronar delivered the punchline with such enthusiasm that its companions burst into their grating, gear-grinding laughter before Brock could even react. For a moment, Brock just stared. Then he burst out laughing, not at the joke itself, which was admittedly terrible, but at the sheer joy on the aliens' faces. They had gotten it. They had created something purely for the sake of amusement, logic be damned. As he made his way through the crowded arena, Brock was stopped by a familiar blue, conical figure. HFY's eyes were spinning faster than Brock had ever seen. "Brock Thornberry," the alien said, its voice filled with awe. "Do you realize what you've done? You've created a force more powerful than any weapon, any technology. You've united the galaxy through shared absurdity." Brock scratched his head. "Yeah, I suppose we did. Who'd have thought, huh? All those years of making my kids groan, and it turns out I was just preparing to save the world." HFY vibrated with excitement. "Not just the world, Brock Thornberry. The universe. You've introduced a concept that transcends species, planets, even dimensions. You've shown us all that it's okay to be silly." As if to prove HFY's point, a group of Kronar scientists shuffled by, all wearing t-shirts that read, I split an atom, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt and a massive energy release capable of powering a small star system. Brock couldn't help but smile. You know, ZYX Norp, I think you're right. And the best part? We're just getting started. As they stood there, watching the intermingling of species and hearing the sounds of laughter in 1,000 different languages, Brock felt a sense of pride he'd never experienced before. They had faced the threat of annihilation and responded with the most powerful weapon of all, the ability to laugh at themselves. In that moment, Brock Thornberry, suburban dad turned galactic peacemaker, realized that they had done more than just save the Earth. They had given the universe something it desperately needed, a good laugh. And as he watched a Kronar attempt to explain the concept of a chicken crossing the road to a bewildered Xnorpian, Brock knew that the adventure was far from over. After all, there were still plenty of bad jokes left to tell. In the grand tapestry of the cosmos, Earth had found its place, not as a dominant force, not as an advanced civilization, but as the class clown of the galaxy. And somehow, that felt just right. As Brock prepared for his next set, he couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of it all. Who knew that the key to universal peace was hidden in the groans of reluctant children and the eye rolls of teenagers? In the end, it turned out that the real punchline was existence itself. And now, thanks to one spectacularly mundane Tuesday and a perfectly peeled orange, the entire universe was in on the joke.